People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much. I am doing this via Zoom, so if it does feel a bit different, forgive me because it obviously does. I'm actually waiting for someone to have a Zoom call with. I mean, I is waiting for footballers. You're going to be here all day. So I think I have enough time to speak in relation to this. Now, apologies. I've spoken on Hector Bellerin before. I've spoken actually today as well. But latest something's come out, and I believe it's Football London that have reported it. Bellerin has more or less said, he kind of, I don't want to go as far as to saying he wants to stay here long term, but he kind of, it's very bullish the way he's speaking. People. So let's actually just go through it, people, really and truly. Obviously, I've just taken the segments which I believe are of relevance. He told Football London, Bellerin it said, I think it's really important to support young players to be who they are. It can be hard coming into a dressing room when you have senior players questioning why you are doing something or wearing something. But it's so important that the next generation are true to themselves, which I believe it is. I think the new generation of players, they're called ungrateful, they're called this, that, and the other. They're spoken of not being focused purely because they're not afraid to be themselves. And I think it's a benefit. You don't see, you typically see players that play for Arsenal, play for Spurs, play for Chelsea and all these other teams. They're all friends. They're all big on fashion. My point is, listen, it's never what people do away from the field, as long as they're not moving mad and the obvious, it's never of relevance. It's when you're not, it's as fickle as that. If Bellerin, look at Bellerin, he's dealt with a lot in his career. The minute he stopped playing well, and there might be some valid claims to it, but I do think it's a bit disrespectful. His diet is called into question. His love for fashion and talking about other things, like he's a very, you always see him challenging things that the government is saying and stuff, and he's told to shut up. Footballers are always praised until they say something someone disagrees with. Footballers always loved until they do something. I mean, Bellerin was playing well. People want to talk about his diet. If Lionel Messi's a vegetarian, it's not spoken about. Why? Because he's playing well. Do you get? Football's fickle. But I do agree that footballers should be different. And, there is hierarchy. You should respect older players. But I do think older players can use that and try and make people feel intimidated, and certain players that will stand up to that, they should. Obviously, you have to play it smart, but be true to yourself. As long as you're not, my point is this, as long as you're putting in a shift on the pitch, I don't really care what you do off it. I don't really care what you win, what you wear, sorry. And things are changing, people. And Bellerin, like I said in the previous video, Bellerin is of that perfect age. He's 25, but he's been that young player coming out of the academy. Yes, via Barcelona, but coming out of the academy. So he's young enough to relate to Joes and the Nelsons and people below him and all of these sort of things. While he's obviously, I wouldn't say 25 is the most senior of age, but he is one of the most senior players within this team. And you hear how he's the PFA representative. You hear his work in relation to convincing players about the wage cuts. He does have a lot of influence in this team. And, if he does want to stay here long term, because he's got 2 years left on his deal, I believe, you can see him being a major part of what Arteta wants to do. And I hope him and Arteta can work together to get Hector Bellerin back to that explosiveness, because I want to be able to join the conversation. Whether he's better than them or not, I'll be shameless and say he is, but I want to be able to join the, is he better than Wan-Bissaka and Trent? Why are you talking about Trent and Wan-Bissaka when Bellerin's there? I want to be able for him to join that conversation. And obviously, I don't think he's better than them, but I want to be able to say that. And right now, no disrespect to Bellerin, because I'm a big fan of his. He is one of the best right backs in the Premier, in my opinion. But if I was to look at it not on a non-biased thing, I do think there's a couple that are better than him. I think Doherty of Wolves is playing better than him and has been playing better than him, for example. Obviously, Kyle Walker is better than him at City, even though he's kind of fallen off. Obviously, Trent and Wan-Bissaka are there. Pereira's played better than him of Leicester, for example. If you give me a bit longer, or you lot have probably got some other examples to throw in there, I want to see Bellerin in there, because when I say best, I want him to be there. When you play for a top 6 team, you want your players to be, if not necessarily top 5, top 10 in the world. We all want that. And I think Bellerin, listen, away from all of that, I just want him to come back to playing his best and showing some consistency that he's had, and he has shown at periods of even coming back from injury. But yeah, man, it's nice to see Bellerin. I really like Bellerin. I like Bellerin as a footballer, but I really like his mindset and things, at least what I see as a fan. He also said, I can help them to do that, then I'm happy to do so. And he also gave some interesting insight into Arteta. It's now obviously a bit of his PR in general, but you're seeing a lot of things in relation to how Arteta was a coach when he was basically a player, and how he was always giving tips. And Bellerin's continued that theme. He's more or less said, from the footballing side, Mikel Arteta, when he was at Arsenal as a player, would give me financial advice and even life advice. So obviously, Arteta's been there, done that, you know, telling his fellow countrymen and someone who he's been in his shoes, listen, save your money, invest your money, you know, make the right lifestyle choices, whether that's dedicating your life to football, maybe not hanging around with certain friends, maybe how to deal with, obviously, Arteta and him are native Spanishmen. They've been in England. You know, both have lived in London. Both have lived in Arteta's lives in couple cities. You know, maybe told him how to, you know, deal with living overseas and avoiding home comforts and how to deal with that sort of stuff. You know, general life advice. As a footballer, Arteta probably has a wealth of knowledge, and Bellerin, you know, it's each one teach one sort of thing. Bellerin should be able to pass that on to someone. Because, you know, out of 10 people in life, you might tell something to 10 people. It's 10 people are not listening, but that 9 people are not listening, sorry. But one person might heed your advice and it might have saved him from doing something or changed him, especially with the financial advice. And I'm not saying Arteta is the reason Bellerin's done things, but there's a couple of players, when you look at Arsenal, they do good things in terms of investments. Bellerin, listen, I can praise him for how his political outlook, how he always talks about charities, how he's always donating his time to lost causes, to charitable causes and things like that. But you also hear about his business investments. I'm not going to speak over them. Just go and Google them. It's nice to see. I'm not saying he's a billionaire or nothing, but it's nice to see a man is fixated about, okay, I'm a footballer now, but when this thing's over, I need to have other things. And that's one thing I like about Bellerin. He's got other passions. Like myself, I don't really have many. If I was a footballer, I'd really struggle because I don't have many passions away from football. I'd be one of them, man. Obviously, I'll be trying to do investments and stuff, but I'll be more focused on coaching and scouting. And sometimes being dedicated to your craft, being dedicated to improving is not what I'm speaking about. But sometimes being dedicated to one thing in particular can harm you. It's a good thing Bellerin likes fashion because he might invest in fashion. You know, he's a footballer. He's earning money as a footballer. His fashion brand might make £1 million. You know, I don't think he has children yet, but that could be put into his children's funds, or that can be used to reinvest and do something and keep generating wealth and stuff. Because footballers, especially when you get to that level, you need to make your money work for you. Getting the bonuses, getting the health. To be honest, without doing any of the investments, you should be set up for life. But, you know, you're of the position where, and everyone can do it, but they're of the position where their money can work for them. They're not a single mother with 2 youths and the youth keeps losing his school clothes and that's another £50 that, you know, £50, £100 that she or the dad was going to use to put towards investing or whatever they've saved already for investing, but they can't because they, you know, the kids growing, there's new clothes, there's food to buy, there's bills to pay. Obviously, the adjustment, the living expenses, what's the word? The costs of living, we've all got to pay gas bills, we've all got to pay, you know, food for the fridge, we've all got to do all of these things. And, you know, it's obviously adjusted, like just because Bellerin, like, you know, it's all adjusted life adjustments, you get where I'm going. But people need to be switched on to that side. And it's lovely because I listen, Arteta is not that old himself, really and truly, you know. At one point, he might not have thought this coaching thing could have happened. He might have tried something else. So I think even Arteta, if they want it, you know, the Joes, the Nelsons and all these other young players, it should be there. I genuinely feel these young footballers, again, I'm not saying be fixated because you don't know what could happen, but they should be thinking about their career, how it's going to end already. So when I'm hearing Holding is doing his trainings, his coaching badges, for example, already, I like to hear that because all Joe, Saka, I genuinely believe like all players should go through financial literacy, should be implored to, you know, understand the concept of financial literacy and making their money work for themselves and saving and stuff, and also be taught how to invest in things. The quicker you get it. Like, look at Saka, he's 17, 18. I'm not expecting him to do a madness or his priorities day. He needs to think of football. But it's all about getting them creative juices flowing, how to think like that. Because the football thing, it can be done. And maybe with this COVID stuff, everybody kind of wakes up and sees this sort of thing, people. But moving forward, he said, but I feel so lucky that everyone around me knew when to stop me doing certain things and were able to have had hard conversations with me. If you don't have people that can be honest with you, then you'll never grow as a person. I was very lucky with the people I had around me, and it means the world to me to have young players looking up to me in the same way. What I am realizing for young footballers, the biggest pressure outside the sport is family. I say it because I didn't have that from my own family to perform. I put pressure on myself to be the best I could for them. They have never once asked me to do something that I was never asked to do by the coach. They have never made a decision about my career without me. And he also said, it was always for the best for me. A lot of parents and families want their kids to be the next Lionel Messi. But by putting so much pressure on them, you're actually holding them back. they should just enjoy football, just enjoy learning about the game. And without getting into specifics, you know, there's certain men that are 8 and 10 years of age fall out of the love of the game because their dad is projecting, you know, again, if a dad loves football, like I love football, I wanted to be a footballer. So I'm going to push my son in a healthy regards. But if he doesn't want to be a footballer, doesn't want to play football, my children will never have to play football. And what I will tell my son is to enjoy it. I think too much dads always, obviously you should always be hard on your kids to a degree, always preach getting better and stuff, but you need to make them enjoy it. And I do see it when I used to coach and when I used to play with certain players, because their dad is on the touchline and he is very vocal, he's pulling them every second. It's not an enjoyable experience. It's filled with anxiety. And I would say slightly different, apologies people, my phone's locked, keeping up with the family thing, but differently. Like if I look at what Bellerin said now, if I look at myself, and let me not lie, a lot of everybody wants to make their family better and stuff, but a lot of black youths, people that look like me, a lot of them in the Arsenal team, and especially a lot that come from like Africa and stuff, you see, you hear Sane, all of these players, Mane, sorry, you know, they're all doing it for their family. You know, they're nice in their family. You hear Evra's paying for a lot of his siblings to do things stuff. So there's a lot of, you know, it's me who's got to make our families better, especially those that come from war-torn countries. For those, like, if I look at, I can guarantee without having a conversation with Joe, with Nelson, with Eddie, with Balogun, probably Tyrese, John Jules, all the, I'm not on a racist thing, like, but the black players, yeah, they all feel that and I get it myself, everybody feels in life that, you know, we're the ones that have to take our family out of it. You know, I want my mum to never have to worry about bills and things again. I want to put her in a nice house and do all of these things, and money doesn't never have to be an issue and stuff. And these footballers want to do it themselves. So I say we put pressure on ourselves, and I can imagine footballers to be the ones to make it happen. You always listen, as young black men, we have to grow up very fast. We have to grow up very fast because the rules are not the same. We have to work twice as hard. You know, walking down the street is a very mad awakening at a point. So you do feel you have to do things. So I do feel, carrying on with Bellerin, I do think young players feel they have to be the man to turn their families' generations over, create generation wealth and change their families' fortunes and stuff. So I'd say that would be my 2 pence with Bellerin. And he also said, with all that pressure, it can break these young players. They can't deal with it and they are finished with the sport. And that's 100% true. Bellerin's also, you know, Bellerin does like the fashion stuff. He does a bunch of stuff, but he's also doing some work. I'm not sure if he's an investor in this. I'm not just sure if it's a collaboration sort of thing, but he's doing something with a sports marketing firm, Be Engaged. In fact, he does have a stake in the firm, and apparently it's grown in 4.5 years. It's grown into a sort of organization with offices in Barcelona and London, and it engaged with 100 million fans around the world. I'm not too sure on what exactly they do, but it's nice to see, you know, he's investing, he's got stuff, and ultimately his investment at some level been proven right, because we'll never know I don't know their cash flow or their balance sheet, which ultimately is the two most important things for most businesses. But if it's grown in 4 years and it's expanded, you'd imagine they're doing all right, and you'd imagine, you know, that's a healthy sort of earner for him, sort of thing, people. He said himself, what I am most proud about when it comes to Be Engaged, which is the name, I think the fact that it's something I've managed to grow from scratch with my best mate, something we are both passionate about, where it is now. So again, this I stand corrected. This isn't something people have put to him and said invest in. This is something him and his friend have started. And obviously with Bellerin, he's obviously probably managed the costs. He's probably sought investors in to help manage the costs. He's probably obviously put the right people in place, because he can't physically manage that to the degree a business needs. A business is like being a owner of a business is being a football manager, because you're always on the go. So you can imagine Bellerin as a player, he can't always be there. So he's probably got trusted people. But either way, it's nice that he does that. And for me, it's nice that he's done that with a mate. But I don't know the degree of mates and stuff, but it'd be lovely if it was someone he grew up with in Barcelona, you know, before the money, before the household name, you know, you're doing it with your friends and stuff. And that's something I would love to be able to do things with my friends and stuff. It is a techie one, mixing business and pleasure, mixing friends with business. It can go left and right, but you know, it's a beautiful thing, and it's nice to see it's growing and stuff. He also said it's been a really beautiful experience, and I think we have a really exciting future. We now employ 50 members of staff, with everyone there sharing the same mindset. They all want to learn and grow with the company. Everyone's young, and it's really great. I want to make sure that whatever happens after football, I can replace it with something that still brings me the same joy. And that's the most important thing Hector Bellerin potentially could have said there, people, in my humble opinion. Moving away from that quickly, people, according to the sports, same old recycled rumor, don't want to speak about it, but I really should just mention it. I'm literally just going to mention it. apparently Arsenal are the club that's shown the most interest in Kurzawa so far. Barcelona are also attentive to his situation, and allegedly Atletico Madrid are also interested. We've been linked with him for a while. Apparently he was going to sign him in Jan. A lot of it is because he's going to be a free agent. Not too sure how valid these claims are because we've got 3 left backs on the books. Well, 2.5 left backs in that Saka's a left back at times, and then he does up left wing. Tierney is that, and Arteta spoke of him highly. Kolasinac is still there, but depending on how much he's going to play, he might be moved on. He's got 2 years left on his deal. Talks over a new deal will have to happen. He's on 100k. Not that his wages are relevant, but that's a lot for someone that might just be the second choice or third choice, the left back, in which he might be moved on if Saka isn't going to compete full time with Tierney in that position. And which, you know, on one hand, I get it if Kolasinac is moved on in general, but surely Kurzawa is going to want arguably more than 100k a week. So what would make sense really and truly? The only way it would make sense if that Saka is exclusively only going to be used on either the left, or what's not spoken about is how good he is on the right and shown at 23s. And obviously you've got Tierney and my man, so we'll never know what happens in that regard. So that's all I wanted to say on that. According to other reports, though, Arsenal are strongly committed in signing Benfica attacker Rafa Silva. Benfica are already aware of the interest from the English club. The player welcomes a move to London. I mean, Rafa Silva's a decent player. Technically, I wouldn't mind him, to be fair. I'm not too sure of his contract length, but I'm always wary of this purely because how many players do Arsenal sign from the Portuguese league, people? Obviously, when you hear that a player is welcome to come in and stuff, it's good to hear. But is that him, or is it the paper talk, which is nonsense, or is that the agent trying to drum up interest and things like that? I like him. If I remember correctly, he's not the oldest of lads either, and he can play centrally and a couple of other positions, if I remember correctly. Again, I'm not watching Portuguese league full time. Let me go and check to see I'm actually not talking and see. Yeah, he can play a couple of positions. He can play attacking mid and he can play behind. In relation to his contract, oh, fair enough. He's got 4 years left on his deal. Well, yeah, 4 years left on his deal. So 27, 4 years left on his deal there until 31. You know, does he want a new challenge at 27? Does he want to try out the Premier League or try a team that he might deem as more competitive in Arsenal? I don't know. Does he feel he wants another contract with renewed terms? Because on the face of it, if he is playing I don't know if he's playing and bossing it for Benfica. You'd imagine if I'm Benfica, it's lovely because we've got him tied down and he's in no position to ask for a new deal. But if he is, but by the same token, he should say, listen, I'm a favoured player. I'm 27. I think I should get more money, sort of thing, because he's contracted until 2024. You'd imagine he'd want the same sort of contract at Arsenal. This season, in 15 appearances, he's chipped in 5 goals and 3 assists in the league. So he's a decent player. Obviously, he's been capped by his country. I don't think he's a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. Looking at his contract as well, if I'm Benfica, you do kind of want a decent sort of fee for him. Newcastle were linked with him a while ago for £15 million. So if we look at that, that might be something to think about, people. He is a very decent creative player, from what I remember correctly. I'm sure he didn't come from the academy. He never played for. It was either Porto or Braga. I think it was Braga. I could be wrong. He could have been at Porto. I don't know, but I'm sure they bought him. He's a decent player, people. He's fairly direct, man, and he is decent in terms of pace as well. He's not a bad, like I said, he's not a bad player. And I'm not too sure on Benfica's financial situation, or if they're in a position where they have to sell players, people. Like, I'm trying to find something about their financial position now, but I don't know. So I'd probably have to speak with someone who's either an expert or, knows what they're talking about in relation to Portuguese football. I would take him, if we just looked at it in his 15 million for someone that can play as a creative midfielder and fill in on the flanks, that would be a decent, and at 27, that would be a decent option to complement the side and things. How true these rumours are, we'll have to see. But for now, nothing more to add, so I'm going to get out of it. As usual, it's always a pleasure. Deluded, I'm out.